Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. And if you're like me, finding a place to eat is never an easy thing to do. Whether you're in New York or DC or traveling, I always find myself wishing I had a trusted friend I could call to tell me where to have dinner or lunch or just where to eat. The infatuation is that friend. The infatuation helps you find the right restaurant for any situation. Need a place for a first date? Trying to find a spot for your birthday that you don't want to celebrate, except you kind of have to. I had that a couple of weeks ago, by the way. The infatuation has you covered in all these situations and many, many more. So if you need a place to eat, but don't want to read through thousands of unreliable crowdsourced reviews from imbeciles that you have no idea who they are, hit up theinfatuation.com or download their free app for iOS or Android to search thousands of restaurant reviews and guides in 22 major cities around the world. Or let the infatuation do the work for you by sending a text to 64560. Again, that's text to 64560. A real person is going to respond to you and help you find a restaurant that's perfect for whatever situation you're in. Now, let's get going. The No BS Coaching Advice Podcast, episode 115. I'm your host, Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome. I like to spend some time regularly, these days it's about once a week, talking with you about life, the universe, and everything. And today's show is recorded on the morning after the Oscars. You know, the Oscars are a spectacle and opportunity for Hollywood in the United States to love itself. And there were some wonderful stories there. I'm not going to go into them. I'll just simply talk in general about what it's like to be an actor performing. If you think it's an easy road to be successful, if you think these folks don't fail at times, you're not paying attention, because so many of these great performers were bums earlier in their career, complete unknowns, and there are obviously exceptions, but they face obstacles. And in facing the obstacles, do you think they gave up? Seriously, do you think they gave up? No. And I think this is the lesson for all of us. When you face an obstacle, you don't give up. It doesn't matter where it is in your life. What you do is reset yourself. It's kind of like when you face a wall. You can run into that wall 4 or 5 times and eventually learn that the wall isn't going to move. But what happens when you try and do it a little bit differently? Maybe you walk around the wall. I remember one time, many years ago, I got off a train in Newark, New Jersey. And at that time, and I don't know if that's still the case, but at that time, there was this huge building right opposite the train station. And what it did was block the view of everything decrepit about the city. Now, Newark has changed a lot since then. I just want to be absolutely clear about that. I'm not here picking on Newark. I'm just telling a story from the past. But I'll just simply say, what I did is I walked around it in order to get to where I wanted to go to instead of walking through it. You can do that too in more and more places in your life. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a pitcher for the Yankees. And I would practice throwing like the fan that I was, watching the players that I would watch as a kid growing up. I had a delivery that looked like Bob Turley or Ralph Terry or whomever the star reliever was at a given period of time. But as passionate as I was about the idea of being a baseball player, there was one problem. And I don't want you to think it negates the previous segment, because it really doesn't. It's not that I ran into an obstacle. As much passion as I had for being a baseball player, I couldn't throw the ball faster than 70 miles an hour. And in case you haven't noticed, baseball players, the pitchers all throw at least, they're in the area of 90 miles an hour. I didn't have the talent. That was true of me when I was in college and I sang with a band, and I just didn't have the talent to be a singer. As much passion as I had for both of those, I wasn't going to make it. And again, that wasn't about obstacles. It was about being realistic. As much as I rehearsed, as much as I practiced, I just didn't have it. So as much passion as you have, and I know people get this notion that you're supposed to follow your passion and you'll never work another day in your life. It's BS. And this is a no BS coaching advice show. So the notion is, don't just follow your passion. Follow opportunity, and it's going to lead you to places that you can't really expect at this time because you have no idea that they exist. Hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm the host of the No BS Coaching Advice podcast here on Anchor.fm. If you've always wanted to start a podcast, Anchor makes it ridiculously easy to do it. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's completely free and ridiculously easy to use. I know I've used two other services. One was very expensive, like $700 a month expensive, until I realized I was getting hosed, and now it costs me much less, but it still costs me. Another service that's inexpensive, but it still costs me. Again, it's 100% free. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I do no BS coaching advice here, and it is a breeze. I can record on my laptop. I can record live off my phone. Again, very, very easy to use. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to Anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's Anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Now, there's some blocks that are very difficult to overcome. Bigotry is the obvious example. And it becomes hard to overcome it because it can be both overt or clandestine. There's a winner of one of the Oscars last night, and he spoke about how bigotry is everywhere in the United States today. Very similar to what it was like during the Holocaust. Very strong statement. I don't know if it's true or not, but I do know bigotry exists. It rears its ugly head in many different ways. Now, he's from Israel. He may be speaking about the rise of anti-Semitism here. He may be, just observing that gay people, blacks, Latinos, Latinas, and many different people from Asia in one nationality or another, there's the assumption that, they don't speak well, that they're different. I remember when I did recruiting many years ago, and it used to be, quote unquote, the Russians. They spoke badly, they had difficulty comprehending. Data-wise, that's true, but it just became a shortcut for people with a name ending in ski without any time taken to really see if those people spoke well or comprehended well. Whenever you're making assumptions about broad categories of people, stop it. Seriously, stop it. Just notice the thought for a moment and say, where did I get that from? That everyone with this background, everyone like this, is exactly the same way. You know it isn't true. Seriously, you know it isn't true. And yet we still do it reflexively. Stop yourself. It doesn't serve you, and it makes for a less inclusive work environment and a less rewarding life. When we buy phones or computers, each of these devices has an operating system. And so far I've been talking about blocks and how you overcome them. Well, I think in terms of designing an operating system for your life, for your career, so that instinctively you respond, not react. Respond to different types of situations because you've been programmed to do that. When you're in a situation where you might overeat and you know you don't want to, see if you can change your programming so you get the results that you want. When you're dealing with different individuals with different sort of motivations, shall we say, can you redesign your programming in order to ensure that you pay attention and don't succumb to situations that you're not going to be happy in? Winners find the way to win. Losers make excuses for why they failed. When push comes to shove, I want to help you be a winner. And in doing so, have the life that you want. It's your choice. Whether it's me or someone else, get some help. It will make a huge difference to you. So that's today's show. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you listen to the show. Just subscribe so you get downloads whenever I release a new episode. Each show is going to be bite-sized morsels of advice just like today's. I hope you enjoyed it, and I do hope you subscribe. And if you do choose to subscribe, I hope you decide to support the show. There's a link that will take you to anchor.fm where you can make a pledge in support of the show. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you're interested in my coaching you, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/The Big Game Hunter. Mention that you listen to the show. I just happen to like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, message me about your interest in coaching. We'll set up a free call. We'll get acquainted, see if it makes sense. I'll be back soon with more. And in the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Take care.